YouTube, what is up? Happy Wednesday. You've got Sandra and Lisa here for you chatting all things women's footy. So thanks for joining us on YouTube. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to Attacking Third on YouTube, and join the conversation in the chats. We ask you questions, we read your comments, you ask us questions. It's quite the community in our YouTube live chat, so join it. You don't want to miss out. Hey everyone, welcome into Attacking Third for a special edition Wednesday episode alongside Sandra Herrera. I'm Lisa Carlin. We have a United States women's national team roster drop. We are talking the next phase of Emma Hayes' career. And of course, our In Case You Missed It segment, catching you up on everything, news, notes, transfers, retirements, anything that has possibly happened in the world of women's footy in the last week that we haven't had a chance to chat about yet. Sandra, happy hump day. How's it going?
Oh my goodness. Look, we got to get over it with this one, Lisa, because of course, you and I go live midweeks and there's always stuff for us to talk about and check in on. And what a big one. What a big one today. We got a couple important bits of action to talk about. I would say.
Just something important. Like our first ever United States women's national team roster under Emma Hayes. She did it, folks. She named her first 23 players under the Emma Hayes era of U.S. soccer. 2 matches for the United States set to be played against the Korea Republic. The first one in Commerce City, Colorado on June 1st, and the second one in St. Paul, Minnesota on June 4th. These are the final camp and the final matches before Emma Hayes selects her 2024 U.S. Olympic women's soccer team roster. But this is it, Sandra. 23 players that the newest head coach of the United States women's national team, Emma Hayes, has named. Let's run through the roster. Starting with the goalkeepers, 3 of them named to this roster: Jane Campbell, Aubrey Kingsbury, and Casey Murphy. Defenders, 7 of them: Tierna Davidson, Emily Fox, Naomi Girma, Casey Kruger, Jenna Knightswanger, Emily Sonnet, and Sam Staab. Midfielders, 6: Corbin Albert, Sam Coffey, Hal Hirschfeld, Lindsay Horan, Rose Lavelle, and Lily Johannes. Forwards, 7 of them: Crystal Dunn. Yes, you heard me right. Forward, Crystal Dunn, Katarina Macario, Alex Morgan, Trinity Rodman, Jaden Shaw, Sophia Smith, and Mallory Swanson. 23 players, some new names, some surprising listings of positions. Sandra, what is your initial reaction to this roster?
It feels very Emma Hayes already, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think that was my initial reaction when I saw, a mix of veterans, players, in their prime, still seeing, newer faces who have been introduced into this program. And why not? Let's just keep adding first debuts, first time call-ups to a national team roster to really kind of kickstart this Emma Hayes era. I mean, this is the camp that is going to be the first 2 of 4 total friendlies that she's going to get with this U.S. side before she has to go off to the Olympics. And they're bringing in Sam Staab and Hal Hirschfeld to get potentially looks or to see how they hold up in some of these training camps. So I think it is very representative of Emma Hayes, because she is someone who is used to building rosters with as much talent as possible. So I don't know if I'm 100% shocked to see Sam Staab get that call in, or a rookie in Hal Hirschfeld, or even training camp players, right? And Croy Bethune and Kate Weisner as well. So it feels correct. It feels
correct. For the last 6 months or so, Emma Hayes has had her fingerprints all over this team in camps that have been brought in and through interim head coach Twyla Kilgore, who is now moved to the first assistant role. She still will be involved in what Emma Hayes is building with the United States women's national team. You alluded to it, Sandra. There are also 3 training players that have been called in: midfielder Olivia Moultrie, midfielder Croy Bethune, and defender Kate Weisner. 2 rookies that have been called into training camp. The number 3 overall pick, Croy Bethune, out of University of Georgia, who plays for the Washington Spirit in the NWSL, and her teammate, Kate Weisner, who comes into this camp as well. In addition to being on the full roster, though, Sam Staab, defender who it was formerly with Washington Spirit, but now with the Chicago Red Stars. She has 100 straight NWSL starts. She's got a killer left foot. She's dynamic. She plays in the center back, and the United States needs center back depth. So I'm with you on the fact that Emma Hayes was looking for different players to bring in at that center back role, knowing that there are a number of injuries to players that play that role. Tierna Davidson, Naomi Girma, these are players coming back from injury currently, and Hayes needs depth at the center back position. But midfielder Hal Hirschfeld, this is her first time call up for a senior national team. She's on the full-time roster. This was the 5th overall pick out of Clemson that went to Washington Spirit this past year. And she's done a tremendous job at Washington Spirit, doing a really good job playing alongside Andy Sullivan. She almost acts as like a double pivot 6 or an 8 at times, pushing forward. But the last couple of weeks, Sandra, the conversation has been about Washington Spirit rookies and everything that they've done and that they deserve a call up. But the conversation's really been around Croy Bethune. She's on this roster as a training player, but Hal Hirschfeld gets the call up to the actual roster to play in minutes. What does that tell you about Hirschfeld and kind of what her game can bring to the U.S. level?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a very specific type of player that they want to get a look at. I think in my most latest mock roster, I complimented Andy Sullivan's play as well recently with the Spirit and thought maybe, just maybe, this would be the camp she got in the mix. But lo and behold, it's her teammate and rookie and Hal Hirschfeld. And I think it's a specific shout because I think that defensive mid area of the team is still an area that I think they want to work on. And maybe it's something that they have figured out enough for the Olympics in terms of how they've been doing their ball progression and everything. But this is an opportunity to maybe keep an eye on the next cycle ahead of them. I like what Hal Hirschfeld has been bringing to the Spirit. I think in when it comes to her position, when you're not calling their name constantly, it's because they're out there doing their job. And while she's, gotten a couple goals, maybe not, to the caliber at this point that Croy Bethune has gotten, she's been putting together a very good, strong case for Rookie of the Year herself. And I think in terms of the availability of what's going on the pitch in the attacking sense, we're seeing the integration of Rose Lavelle back in the mix. I can only imagine Emma Hayes getting excited at the opportunity of being able to coach a player of her caliber as well. But also other very creative players, I think, that are probably in the coaching staff's opinion and mine, that they have enough attacking and creativity, perhaps ahead of Bethune, but they are taking note that this is a player who is not to be ignored because of what she's put together in just these opening 10 games of the season. So I think it's a bit of more of a nod and a shout to say, we're recognizing your efforts.
Right.
We're going to get you in the mix, but we got to see about some other things here ahead of the Olympics.
Totally. I think that's a great shout. They also, Emma Hayes has brought back in midfielder Lily Johannes, who plays overseas. She plays for Ajax. She was called into the She Believes Cup camp, and did not get time. She did not get a cap there, but she is back on the roster. We touched on Sam Staab. Alex Morgan is also on this roster. A bit of a surprise for me, considering she hasn't played in nearly a month with San Diego Wave due to an ankle injury. Does this mean she's potentially on the mend? Or are you surprised at all to see Morgan on this full roster?
No, yes and no. It's a mix. Mostly no. This Alex Morgan, we haven't seen her, for the Wave recently, but at the same time, that's also to say we're not too sure of how close she is maybe in trainings or what things look like week to week. Now, she's getting called into these camps. Are we going to see her get game time in these national team games? Look, I think that's going to raise even more question marks if we do, because it's not just her, right? It's Jaden Shaw that we've seen navigating injury. We just saw Naomi Girma pull a 45-minute shift for the first time in weeks. Albie Dogkemper was someone whose omission was on this roster as well, in a similar boat with that notorious thigh injury at this point for so many players. But she's Alex Morgan, And I think if anything else, they want to get her in to get a chance to evaluate her on the national team side of things in terms of her progress with her current injury and sort of see where she stands. I think that's also why we're seeing some tweaks a little bit in this forward pool with Crystal Dunn promoted to being being a forward, and how is that going to come into play? What type of opportunity is she going to get, knowing that there's a couple of injuries to Shaw and Morgan here?
Exactly. I think the injuries play a big factor. And with Emma Hayes bringing in so many younger, newer players, the rookies in the NWSL, first time cap players, or under 5, under 10 caps players, you need some of that veteran leadership and ability. And no one can deny that Alex Morgan brings that to the table with this United States side. She brings a level of experience and uh, just the adversity that she's been through. It's a different wrinkle that she brings to the roster that is maybe a big influence as to why she's named on this one. You touched on it. Crystal Dunn listed as a forward. This has been something fans, media, perhaps even Crystal Dunn herself has wanted for a long time. This is a player that truly can play across any line. Her most notable position with the United States has been at outside back. At times, more of a wing back or getting really high into the pitch. But for club, she plays an attacking midfield role or even in the front line. And she's mentioned how she likes playing higher up the field and being able to use her attacking presence to do that. And for so long, it's been that, okay, but we don't have any other outside left back. We don't have anyone else that can slot into that role. Is that changing so much, Sandra? Are there more options at defender? Or is it about time that Crystal Dunn just deserves to play a position that she can thrive in?
It's all of it for me, Lisa, because we do have options at that outside back position. Casey Kruger is one of those options at that outside back position. And look, this is the Emma Hayes era.
Mm-hmm.
I think at this point in Crystal Dunn's career, Emma Hayes, more than anybody, I think probably knows what she's capable of, having coached her already with Chelsea, has seen her play in that attacking position, was part of the reason why Crystal Dunn eventually flourished as a bit of a wingback, and then ultimately as that full-time fullback. This is someone that this is a player whose profile that Emma Hayes is very, very familiar with. Yeah, shout out to Esty Miller. Emma knows. Emma knows Dunn at forward. So I think maybe, just maybe, there's going to be an opportunity here for both of them to get refamiliar with each other, in terms of playing an attacking role for the United States, because that's not an area in which Crystal Dunn has gotten a lot of opportunity at the senior level. And so maybe this is, both, Hayes' way of saying, like, let's see what we can do here together. And I'm hopeful that maybe we'll get to actually see it. I don't know if you make this type of move and then we don't see it.
I hope so. I mean, either way, like, Crystal Dunn deserves to be on this roster, if nothing because of her versatility, right? And because she can play across all of the lines. And that is a caveat that I think we would be remiss if we overlooked, that for so long, Crystal Dunn, even 70% at left back, was better than most people's 100% at left back, because she is that good, even though that's not her original position or preferred position that she plays. Okay, there are a couple players not named to this roster, snubs, as you'll call them. People in our live chat on YouTube are asking us to hear about the snubs. So if you only listen to this as a podcast, jump on youtube.com/attacking third Wednesdays at 11 a.m. because we go live every single Wednesday. And we're talking about snubs live on YouTube for the United States women's national team. Lynn Williams, forward, not called up to this roster. Goalkeeper Alyssa Nair, not called up. And I'm going to do defender Abby Dahlkemper, also not called up. Those are three of the snubs that I noticed throughout this. Anyone that I missed, Sandra?
I'm sure folks will say that, one of their preferred players is a snub. I'm sure folks will say that Alyssa Thomas, for example, is getting a lot of minutes, putting together active performances for Angel City, and maybe she should get back in the mix. I mean, I'm still here on the Ashley Sanchez train. How is she not back in the mix for this? I thought maybe I mentioned Eddie Sullivan earlier. I'm also going to include Ashley Sanchez in that case. Maybe she's also considered a snub as well at this point, but I think the biggest one, I think that we've all been sort of, kind of taking note in this one is Lynn Williams.
Yeah, big absence because for Abby Dahlkemper coming back from a bit of injury, one of the players I
Yep.
missed, Alyssa Nair out right now with a thigh injury, who
Yep.
I think that is a big snub that, but there's a reason for it because of an injury. So we have the 3 other goalkeepers being called into this one, Casey Murphy, Jane Campbell, and Aubrey Kingsbury, who Kingsbury we haven't seen in a long time on this
Yep.
roster in rotation. But Lynn Williams, I mean, why no Lynn Williams, Sandra? Any ideas?
No. I'll just be frank. I'll just I like it was honestly like I was like, okay. But having sat with it a little bit, that Gotham squad has had to unfortunately get a little bit of a grinding start to their season. They've had to manage the loads and the minutes of some of their national team players. And to Lynn Williams' credit, she's absolutely worked her way back, in my opinion. I think she's not only worked her way back, but showed how valuable of a player she can be in the attack. But I do wonder if maybe there wasn't enough there to call her in, or maybe the other side of that coin is that they know exactly the type of player she
Yeah.
is, and maybe it's not for this time. I did have a thought, Lisa. I think if we go back to the previous era with Vlatko Andonovski, there were a number of times we would talk about this roster and Lynn Williams specifically, and I would refer to Lynn Williams as a very Vlatko Andonovski specific
Yeah.
type of player. I don't know if I would refer to her as an Emma Hayes specific type of player, and I think that's also part of this equation here too.
What's the
But
biggest difference between a Vlatko player and an Emma Hayes player?
I think we're actually going to still learn a little bit of that because now we're going to see Emma Hayes on the sidelines. Now we're actually going to see perhaps some of the tactics that she wants to put in concrete. We've just seen a blueprint. I think we've just seen blueprints and ideas. Twyla Kilgore herself has said that they wanted to slowly weave in some things, not fully shake it up and change it up. That they wanted this team to work on getting good performances and results, getting that confidence back under their feet, working on ball progression, making sure that they had all of that under their system. And now I think we're going to see. I think with Andonovski, I think obviously we saw the 4-3-3. That was his prototype. That's where he wanted to go. That's where he wanted to live and stay. Wanted the forwards who would put in constant energy, constant effort, working hard on that high line and on that counter press. So, I don't know if that is going to be 100% of Emma Hayes's arsenal, but we knew it was 100% of Vlatko Andonovski. So that is why we always had Lynn Williams in the mix.
Yeah,
Not
I
too
think
sure
that's
about this
a good
next
shout.
play.
Interesting. And I think also important to note that this isn't the Olympic roster. This could also be an opportunity for Hayes to look at some players and say, yeah, you're not ready, and know that maybe someone like Lynn Williams is. I don't know about that. I kind of understand what you're saying, that the type of player that Lynn Williams is and the positives that she brings aren't necessarily what Emma Hayes is looking for, in the sense of like good counter pressing abilities. Like she wants her forwards more so to be higher up the field and to be able to want the ball at their feet and to dribble 1v1 and go at defenders and combine really well and play less of a direct game and more of a possession oriented game. And to be honest, we'll see that come these friendlies and exactly what Emma Hayes is trying to build, because we've gotten glimpses of it over the last several camps and several matches for this side. But now we get our first real test of Emma Hayes in the driver's seat. She's not riding shotgun anymore. She is fully in charge. Fully in charge. We'll see. United States Women's National Team roster, 23 players have been named under Emma Hayes' first full roster. 2 matches for the U.S. against Korea Republic. The first one in Commerce City, Colorado on June 1st, and the second one in St. Paul, Minnesota on June 4th. I should really say match 1 and 2 of 4 before the Olympics and before the roster is named. That was fun to talk about.
Emma, take the wheel.
Take the wheels. The Emma Hayes era is officially here. We're going to talk about what this era looks like and the next phase for Emma Hayes. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
There are some things in life that you can't quite explain.
An extraordinary story.
Maybe it sounds flawless, looks effortless, or makes you feel like a part of history.
The first ever goal for BFC.
And when all of those phenomenons come together, it's perfect. Pitch perfect.
Welcome back to Attacking Third. We are officially in the era of Emma Hayes. She has named her first full United States women's national team 23-player roster. We talked all about it, the surprises, the snubs, and what we're excited to see from those 23 players in their pair of friendlies. But let's talk about the manager herself, Sandra, because Emma Hayes, after spending 11 years at Chelsea, being a true trailblazer with 7 Super League titles, 4 FA Cups, 2 League Cups, it was announced a while ago that she would be leaving Chelsea at the end of the season and immediately start with the United States women's national team. That happened. Chelsea season 1 was finished last week. The day after, she's doing media for US Soccer. It is officially happened. I want to know from you, did that feel like the right transition and like moment from that? I mean, so Chelsea ended up winning on the last day of the Women's Super League season, lifting their 7th Super League title, thanks to Emma Hayes, all of those under Emma Hayes. And then the next day, she's wearing a US Soccer shirt. I mean, what did you see when you saw that? What did you think?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
You're ready. Let's go. But I think, I do wonder, if like casuals, like US casuals are ready for the Emma Hayes era. I don't think it's unfair to say that this is a head coach who has, experience and personality unlike predecessors before her. And I'm excited for that part of this Emma Hayes era. And I think it's honestly her arrival into this position. I think it was a perfect launch pad. I love the fact that it came off of it's coming off of probably one of her most challenging seasons with Chelsea. That they had to deal through a lot of adversity, that they had to deal with a lot of loss, whether it was injuries to key players, no Sam Kerr for the majority of their season, and players, rotating in and out on that availability report. So losing players there, losing titles along the way, or opportunities to obtain those titles. So you could see it in the body language, from her players to her coaching staff to her, what it meant to them to win the league and to walk away and to sort of send her off with that perfect parting gift as a winner, because that's all they know her as. And
Exactly.
That's really why US Soccer hired her, because they needed to get a winner back into the mix. And so I think it's the perfect launch pad for her.
You could see just how much the players wanted that for her, and all season, right? Since this news happened and they knew it would be their last season under Emma Hayes, how much respect the players had for her, which is pretty cool to see. But it's also club, and there's something a little different about that, because with club, you're there every day and you have training every week and you're focusing on multiple competitions, whether that's cups, league cups, the season, Champions League, whatever it may be. And there's this type of bond day in and day out that you have with a club team. That's different once you get to the national team level. It's more cutthroat. The competition is higher. The stakes are higher for a United States women's national team that had been number 1 for so long and fallen from the precipice, and is now in this almost downward spiral, that the US Soccer net to catch the downward spiral is Emma Hayes. There's a lot of pressure on her to not only build this team back up, get them back to the top of the mountain, but to win trophies, and a lot of them. Not just make a good roster and get to the Olympics, but win gold. There are elements set, and the bar is high for Emma Hayes to do that. There's a lot of pressure on her to come into this role, and she's good at pressure. Even winning this final season with Chelsea, she said it wasn't the easiest. There's a lot we had to go through. It was really tough, but maybe that made it the sweetest, because of everything that she had to go through. She's not afraid of that. And in some final parting words with Chelsea media and media in England, she went on to say, hey, you guys might see me at a gold medal match. That's where I want to see you next, because I want to beat the Spanish at some point. And that's what she said. So immediately, in celebration of her Super League title and in having these press conferences, she's looking to the next chapter and to the next page, and already looking at something that no one has done in the last couple of years, and that's beat Spain, the reigning world champions. And that's what she says. I've got to freaking beat the Spanish at some point.
I love you.
That doesn't rile you up, Sandra. I don't know what will.
I love you. I love you for editing it. She definitely dropped the F-bomb there and saying that she's got to F and beat the Spanish. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's the energy.
This
right?
is a kid show.
I'm sure folks will be like, oh, Emma, it's the Catalonians who beat you in Barcelona. But listen, she again, this is what I mean by I don't know if folks are ready for this type of caliber of coach, because this is someone who is incredibly self-aware. Incredible. Like, we don't have to write it. We don't have to go and write it. We don't even have to go and talk about it. We do it because that's our job. But Emma Hayes is incredibly aware. I mean, what a quote to kind of just drop on your way out. She's aware that is a hurdle of her own that she's yet to sort of get over. And I think that is the type of stuff that folks will get excited about, whether they're players or her assistant coaches or her members of her technical staff, or diehards who have followed this team for years, or your folks who just love a good World Cup or love a good Olympics. Doesn't matter where you fall on the spectrum of devoted here, but this is the type of energy I think that folks want to see.
And we're lucky because we've been covering it, her in the Super League for years, several years now, especially on attacking third. We've been around it. We've seen her in press conferences, and we know what energy she's going to bring. We know how she's going to talk about games, how honest she's going to be post-match and say, we lost this, we should have won it, this isn't good enough, or putting blame on herself, or having that communication with her players. But the rest of the world is going to find out really soon what that's like at the international level. It is an honesty and the trueness to be her authentic self every day. That's pretty cool, because all she wants to do is win, and she expects the best from her and herself and her staff. But this is different. It's for a country. It is at the international level. And the last time we had a club coach that was very successful come into this role, so coach the United States women's national team, that didn't turn out quite like we planned. Vlatko Andonovski was an incredible club coach. He is to this day. I mean, look at Kansas City, undefeated through the first 10 weeks of NWSL play, yet that didn't really translate at the international level. How is this going to be different for Emma Hayes transitioning for club to country?
I mean, for starters, it's just going to be a different calendar that she's working on. I mean, I think that's the most obvious one. This isn't a season where you're working on a game plan week to week, right? But I think she is someone who's capable of playing a long game. And I think even in this roster, right, we're already seeing a little bit of that in terms of getting to see Hal Hirschfeld with a full call up in this one, that there's going to be players who are in as training camp players, even as they get into these really intense moments of preparation for the Olympics. So it's going to be different from navigating a club versus a national team. But just because the match windows are different to balance, I would imagine the leg work, the tactical work, the mental prep, everything else that goes into it, is she's more than capable of playing out her long game.
It is different, though, to not be with players day in and day out, or even see them, right? Even if you don't have training, if you have a scouting session, and with the national team, it is in chunks. It is in 2-week or 3-week chunks that you are brought in as a group. And it's a very different job that Emma Hayes is going to have to approach this as, because in the time off, she has to do, I mean, it's not like she's sitting at home twiddling her thumbs when the national team is at meetings. She's constantly preparing for the next camp, looking at rosters, looking at player personnel, traveling to matches, not only around the NWSL, but a number of these US internationals are playing overseas and she'll have to be there. And
she's gonna get to see a lot of the United States
very quickly. Hopefully she can like couple it, right? Like go to California, see an Angel City match, play against someone, and then San Diego, and then Bay, you know, get 6 teams in one trip up and down the West Coast. I mean, she'll have to have a strategic travel agent to help her with this. Her miles is going to go up. Sign up for Marriott. You got it. Marriott Bomboy.
Yep.
Emma Hayes, you got this. A way to rack up some points. You can also link your Uber account. There are like so many things.
Get those Delta miles. Oh, geez.
She'll get something in there because that's what she's going to have to do. And it's a lot of work outside of that. But to me, Emma Hayes has the vision and the understanding of not just players in the boxes that they've put in by former national team coaches or current club coaches or roles that they've played, but she has a really good eye to look outside of the box that a player is in and pick up on their skill sets, their tendencies, their physical attributes, how they touch the ball, the way they glance over the shoulder, how much weight they put on a passes, everything they do technically in the game, while also looking at their mental IQ of the game and understanding soccer smarts and understanding that a player that maybe plays in a 6 position can be better as a 10 or be better as a wing back or can play in both of those roles, and utilizing players' talents and skill sets to kind of break the mold that has been built for the US over the last several years. And it's going to look different, and it's going to take a different coach to get the United States back on top. US has invested in Emma Hayes. I'm on board. You're on board?
Oh yeah, 100%. You're 100% correct. You're not gonna get any pushback from me. It's gonna be different. It's gonna look and feel different for sure.
It is gonna be
and
different.
but you know, I'm here to embrace it. I'm here with open arms about it. So,
and there's no precedent, right, for these players that have been called in before, right? Alex Morgan's spot isn't guaranteed. She's going to have to prove herself. But neither is Hal Hirschfeld, who's getting her first ever call up.
She named this roster, and in her opening quote in this roster, she lays that out. She says, "I fully expect everybody to be on board with what I'm going to present them so that we can get out there and compete." So she's already setting the tone.
Yeah, and the buy-in is there from the players. They have Twyla Kilgore still on staff with the U.S. Soccer. She'll be the assistant for Emma Hayes. We'll see, Sandra, June 1st, we get our first look at an Emma Hayes United States women's national team side as they take on South Korea. I am so excited to see who the starting 11 is, who rolls out with it, what happens. So keep listening to Attacking Third because we'll preview those matches. We're going to dive more into it. We have so much more to chat about, but don't go anywhere. We have another segment for you in case you missed it, talking news and notes and everything that's happened around the world of football. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
From the world of Sonic the Hedgehog, is there anyone stronger?
No.
Tougher?
No.
Hungrier?
Grapes was an interesting choice for someone who doesn't use fingers.
Knuckles, now streaming only on Paramount Plus.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. This is our In Case You Missed It segment. One of my favorites, actually, Sandra, because we get to chat about the news, notes, signings, retirements, anything that's happened in the last week that we haven't had a chance to talk about on Attacking Third. As a reminder, you can listen to Attacking Third as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We also go live every single Wednesday at youtube.com/Attacking Third at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can watch Attacking Third on the Grosso Network Mondays and Thursdays for all your women's footy news. But here are some things that slip through the cracks that we don't want to slip through the cracks. Bayern Munich, they have lifted their 6th Bundesliga trophy after going unbeaten all season. Absolute domination from Bayern Munich, 19 wins, 3 draws, and they do this all in a season ahead of them getting Lena Oberdorf because the midfielder is signing with this club. They are just strengthening up for next year. So congrats to Bayern Munich. I imagine that you're just going to keep on rolling. I mean, the undefeated streak is pretty impressive from Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, what? Maybe Lyon. Like, who are the clubs that could rival? This type of success. It's gonna take a lot, I think, to maybe
Impressive.
try to eclipse that. So, congratulations to them.
Definitely impressive. Congrats to Bayern Munich. Ajax, their women's team, have also been on a bit of a dominating run. They have won the Dutch Cup for the 6th time in club history with a 3-1 win over Fortuna Sittard. So congrats to Bayern Munich and for the Ajax women's side for lifting those trophies and ending an incredible season overseas. Midfielder Alexia Putellas, the 2-time Ballon d'Or winner, is extending her contract with Barcelona. She is committed until 2026 with an option for a 3rd season. Thank goodness, because Alexia Putellas and Barcelona, those 2 words just go hand in hand. I couldn't imagine her going anywhere else, honestly.
I'm with you. I know folks love the transfer rumor mill and the player movement reportings and rumblings. But sometimes when a player makes the decision that's best for themselves, sometimes it's maybe the one that you expected it. And I would say that maybe this one came with a layer of that expectation as well. Maybe it's not too shocking or surprising that she resigned with this club, the club that has really become synonymous with her success. So I also think there's a bit of her, wanting to continue what she's built and worked on with Barcelona, having had to work her way back from that ACL injury and, maybe try to get to not so much a player that she was, but the player that she's capable of being. So she's going to have some time to do it. And I like that there's that option for 2027 as well. This is a club where folks who are maybe wondering, like, there's a potential for a lot of change coming because they're losing their head coach to the Spirit, and the possibility of losing Putellas, I think, might have been a whole lot of concern, but that's not going to be the case here.
Not the case. We get to watch Putellas in a Barcelona jersey absolutely dominate for another couple of years and potentially a 3rd. We'll keep you updated, but that is the only staying news we have. We have some now leaving news in the world of transfers. Julia Grosso, the Canadian international midfielder, is leaving Juventus after her contract expiration. This comes after 76 appearances, 10 goals, 1 league title, 2 Italian Cups, 2 Italian Super Cups. Huge for Julia Grosso to potentially, embark her career somewhere else. She did say in a social media post, quote, "As my time at Juventus comes to an end, I just wanted to express my gratitude for the incredible years we've shared." This is a big announcement, I think, because she spent a lot of time at Juventus and she's a very good player, still has a lot of time left in her prime. Where could we see her go, Sandra? Any ideas?
Listen, I haven't heard enough on the rumor mill, but I like if she wants to try to get closer to home. A lot of times when players go overseas and find that they have accomplished some of their goals, and she's coming, she's leaving Juventus as a winner. She went out there, she went to Italy, scored goals, won titles. Maybe she wants to make her way back to North America. And, I wouldn't mind seeing her in NWSL at all. We've got a couple Canadian internationals in here who do quite well in NWSL. And if it's closer to that, summer window where she's going to potentially be a candidate for a team that maybe needs to make a deep second half run, I think there's a few teams that could have an eye on her. I wouldn't mind seeing Seattle try to make a move. I'd love to.
I just want Seattle to get someone.
I would love for Laura Harvey to, already be working those phones and sending those emails already. Why not? I heard Seattle's close to Vancouver. Why not make it happen?
Zach P in our live chat on YouTube saying, "Hey, Rose City, baby, bring on the Canadian players." Yeah.
Okay, Zach.
There's room in Portland for another Canadian midfielder to join that squad. They have a lot of depth already there.
Players on players on players.
It might as well just be the Portland Canadian international team. That's essentially what we're getting at here. I like it. We'll see. We'll keep you updated on where Julia Grosso goes and her next stop in her playing career. Lieke Martens, the Netherlands Women's forward, huge international, has announced that she is set to retire from international football. 158 appearances for the Dutch since Martens' debut in 2011. She scored 62 goals, and at just 31 years old, she is saying goodbye to the Netherlands. You get 2 more chances to watch her. The final 2 games for the Netherlands and for Lieke Martens will be in the European Championship qualifiers against Finland. Those matches May 31st and June 4th. But don't worry, you can still watch her at the club level. She's still competing domestically. She is in France. She plays for PSG. So get out there and watch her, especially in the European Champions for Netherlands. We have some big news with Chelsea because Emma Hayes has departed. That happened already as soon as the final whistle blew for Chelsea on the last match day in the Super League. Now the club is set to announce their newest head coach, Sonia Bompastor, the head coach from Lyon, who has been with Lyon since 2021, one of the most decorated players. She has over 150 caps as a player for France. She's the only manager, Sandra, in the last 15 years, female, that has won the Women's Champions League. This is a big announcement that has not officially been made yet, but Chelsea is set to announce it after Lyon competes in the Women's Champions League final set for this weekend, as Lyon and Sonia Bompastor will play against Barcelona. Bompastor is an attack-minded manager. She does a good job developing the youth, and Chelsea has to go in another direction. And this is where they're going, Sandra. What do you think about this next move for Chelsea going with Bompastor?
She's beaten Barcelona once. If she does it twice, I think Chelsea fans are going to feel very good about it. So I think when we're talking about welcoming a new era in for the U.S. women's national team, Chelsea's on the other side of that coin in terms of welcoming a new manager and what will be a new era for Chelsea football as well. I think for now, I think there's going to be, the honeymoon phase of lots of good feeling and lots of positivity. But this is a club that has a standard now, and part of that is because of Emma Hayes and all of her success. So I wouldn't say they're big shoes or big shadows, but there is a level of expectation to get into this role and continue winning, continue building and building upon that winning culture for Chelsea. So, maybe this is also a former player and now manager who wants that challenge as well, getting outside of France and getting into a different league and having that opportunity in front of her to try to build something or continue to build with Chelsea as well. And, there's also the reunion aspect of it, right? Macario, Bompastor. So turning of a page for Chelsea for sure.
For sure. Lyon coming off their first loss of the season, actually, as they sit at the top of the French League on Lyon with 20 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss that they just suffered. But they will take on Barcelona in the Champions League final this Saturday, May 25th, 12 p.m. Eastern time. And then Sonia Bompastor will make her way to England for Chelsea's new head coach. Let's head stateside because there is some news in the NWSL. Sam Staab, who got her first ever call up to the senior women's national team, the defender with Chicago Red Stars, she makes NWSL history with her 100th consecutive career start. This spans over 2 clubs. She spent a lot of time very successful in the back line in the center back role with Washington Spirit, and now she's at Chicago. This is a really huge milestone for Sam Staab. It is really hard to play 100 matches in the NWSL, let alone 100 consecutive starts. This is so impressive for Sam Staab.
100%. I think we should always try to celebrate some of these milestones when we can, but I also really appreciate that it's for a player like Sam Staab because of her mentality. She's such a warrior, man. Like, I gotta steal her own quote from her and just say get it and then forget it, because she's keeps reaching some of these milestones as a defenders, and she's just yeah, that's nice, moving on, I got work to do. That's just that's so cool. Indicative. Yeah, it's just, I'm she's actually quite cool. Her coolness rating is underrated. So yeah, congratulations for her. Sure, I mean it's part of why she earned this call up right to the national team.
Hands down, it is for sure why. It helped her earn this call up. Her consistency. I think there's a level of professionalism that we cannot overlook of how she prepares for matches, training, recovery to stay healthy, frankly, for that long. I'm knocking on wood, don't worry. But that is really impressive as well. There's a level of professionalism and care for your body that a lot of players struggle with, or they have a really tough learning curve. And that is something that Sam Staab makes sure that she does every single day, that so she can play 90 minutes, get starts for her team and support them and get it and then forget it and move on. I absolutely love that. Some other news out of the NWSL, Racing Louisville rookie Emma Sears signs a new 3-year contract with Racing Louisville. She was a 2024 draft pick for Racing Louisville out of Ohio State. Previously, she had just signed a 1-year agreement. And now this 3-year deal for Emma Sears ensures that she is not only staying in the NWSL, but staying with Racing Louisville. Sears has been a part of what Bev Yanez is building in Racing Louisville. And this is a rookie that is really fun to watch. She kind of bullies defenders off the ball. She's got really physical attributes as a rookie, and she's adjusted so well to the game. It is absolutely no wonder that Racing Louisville wants Emma Sears to stick around. Sandra, last week, we did our episode here on Wednesday, and we talked about the USL Super League, and there were 7 of 8 teams named for the season that starts in August around the corner. And we did a little game, a fun little poll of what is Washington, D.C. going to name their club. Now, I don't know if they listened to our episode and took notes or considerations, but they named their team. So DC's USL Super League side reveals their name, DC Power FC. I don't think anyone, you or I, or anyone in our chat specifically said power, but interesting name. Some people said DCFC. I know you didn't like that a lot. I like that. I thought it was catchy and had a fun rhyme to it, but ultimately they're going to go with Power FC. The name Power symbolizes the team's strength and determination, while the crest, inspired by the iconic DC flag, represents the unity that anchors our club. So congrats. All the USL Super League teams have been named. And then some more exciting news came out about DC Power FC. WNBA Chicago Sky rookie Angel Reese has been named the newest owner of DC Power FC. This is what we love. Women supporting women and women in sports. Let's go.
Let's go. I'm here for it. I saw a news drop. I was like, yes, let's get it. Angel Reese. I'm hyped for it. I'm a Chicago Sky ride or die, and I love it. I'm here for we're talking about eras. Absolutely here for the Angel Reese era that includes ownership in women's soccer. I love it. And she's a local, so I love that they are working that angle as well for her. So the Baltimore kid with some investorship, I love it.
Yeah, it's absolutely super cool to see. I'm excited for the WSL Super League to kick off August. It starts, and we've now have all of our clubs named. Okay, that's it for our show. We have one little extra time nugget that we get to add on here, attacking third, added time at the end of the segment. Because
good old stoppage time.
Yeah, a little more stoppage time. We have NWSL midweek action. There's a Thursday match, a California clash between Angel City and San Diego Wave FC. Tune into Attacking Third on Thursday. We are back in studio with Jenny Chu, Sandra, myself, Christine Cupo. We'll be there chatting everything about this match. But I wanted to do our little midweek previews and predictions. So we're just going to do predictions for this midweek matchup, Angel City versus San Diego. A huge match for both of these sides that have had up and down seasons. Not a lot of consistency. They picked up wins. They've also dropped points that they should have had. LA, San Diego, who do you have, Sandra? Who's going to win?
Who's going to be available, Lisa, right? We're also doing this too. Like when we're like doing this midweek match, we don't even actually know who's going to be available, so
you're just scared to lose your pick and prediction. Come on.
Yeah, I'm just going to go Angel City at this point. They're probably going to be without Sarah Gordon, didn't look like she was happy coming off that pitch, but why not? Let's go Angel City.
I like that. Both sides, San Diego and Angel City, winless in their last 2 matches. San Diego is 8th in the standings. Angel City is 9th. You're going to go with Angel City. I'm going to go with San Diego Wave, because if Alex Morgan is named to the United States women's national team roster, it means that she's back in play. And so I'm just going to assume that with her back in the mix, and Jaden Shaw, I mean, there's a lot of injuries that are happening here. We don't really know what's going on. But I'm going to go with San Diego Wave. I think they have a bit more depth. They have a lot of young players that can come into the roster and kind of pick up and float around. And they're not too happy with how they lost in their last time out against Bay FC. They went up early, and then they conceded 2 goals in the second half against Bay FC. So I think Maria Sanchez is also getting her feet wet with San Diego, and she's going to look better. So I'm going to go San Diego. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Sanchez gets to play with a healthy Shaw and a healthy Morgan, absolutely. But I have no idea, so I'm going Angel City.
I like it. Well, we'll see. We'll check back in about how we did. Our shout out to our producer, Mark, because he keeps track of our picks and predictions. And I'm just saying I'm winning. I'm not competitive or anything, but I'm winning on the predictions. I also won in something else today, Sandra. We had a poll going on YouTube for your kit or my kit. And I won. I'm rocking a Germa United States Women's National Team kit. Thank you to the people of YouTube for voting me your winner. I'm so honored and blessed to represent you all as wearing the best kit today on Wednesday. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Lisa. Congratulations.
You concede defeat. I absolutely love it. All right, Sandra, this is so fun to do this with you. I appreciate it. Final thoughts from today's episode. We chatted a lot of things. Any final thoughts for the people?
Watch women's soccer. Watch it. Watch NWSL. Watch USL when you can. Watch all the soccer.
Watch all the soccer. And you can watch soccer coverage too, because Attacking Third is also a podcast, and we're also on the Grosso network. So make sure you follow Attacking Third wherever you get your podcast and leave us a 5-star rating and review. We're also available on youtube.com/Attacking Third. You can watch us on CBS Sports Grosso network for all your women's football coverage. For Mark, Sandra, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third.